Fall camp is open. Position battles all over the place. Who's going to win? Coming up next on Michigan Wolverines Live. Whew! New intro, folks. Today's August 2nd, 2023, Wednesday. My name's John Diadamo. Find me on X at John Diadamo. We want to thank David Martinez for contributing the music that's going to be on our intro for a while. So go check it. We have the link in the description to check his music out. It's really good stuff. This song that I took this from is called Fast and Hard. It's an 80s kind of throwback song. So it's really good stuff. Thank you for that. And of course, we always like to recommend, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend, because folks, if you like the content that we put out there, you like everything that we do, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell to get notified when we're live, because guess what? We're still 1,000 subscribers below Ohio State. So the question of what are you doing to beat Ohio State today? Help us get some subscribers and click the subscribe button yourself. All righty. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jason. I appreciate that. All righty. So before we get to our main topic, which is the fall camp, we're going to spend pretty much the entire show on that. Let us start with this. So Blake Corum was recently interviewed and basically said that we are not out here paying high school athletes, which is the same philosophy that everybody's said for a while. And there's no real shock here. But folks, we want to win playoff games. And so when you think about the 5-star talent that some of these other schools are able to get with some what I like to call sponsorship deals, Michigan's approach can go a certain length, right? Michigan can win the Big Ten and has proven that they can win the Big Ten with mostly 3- and 4-star athletes. But if Michigan truly wants to take that next step to really compete with Alabama, Georgia, the top of college football, then there needs to be a consideration for 5-star players and sponsorship deals done. Because imagine yourself as a 17 or 18-year-old, okay? You're a student athlete. Maybe your financial situation isn't great, or maybe it is decent. And you have the choice of going to Michigan, where they say, you reap what you sow. If you do well, you'll get money, or $250,000. I want to ask everybody in the chat, would you choose Michigan? And I know we're all Michigan homers here, but would you choose Michigan? Or would you choose $250,000? This is the choice that these athletes have at the top level of the sport. Now, I'm not saying, give sponsorship to a 3-star player, but the top of the sport, Ohio State, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, they're the ones getting these players. So we love Blake Corum. I'm so happy he came back. And by the way, NIL was a big reason he came back, right? It's high stakes. Michigan, if they want to continue this philosophy, there's only one path, I think, to do it. Got to win it all. Got to win the title this year. Michigan still has 5-star J.J. McCarthy, 5-star Donovan Edwards, 5-star Will Johnson, a bunch of 4-stars, and of course, talent that they've raised up. Like Blake Corum wasn't a 5-star, but I would argue he's a 5-star now in terms of abilities, like probably the top of the top. So all I'm saying is, transformational, not transactional, got to win the title this year. You can win the Big Ten with 3- and 4-star players, but to win the playoffs, you need the best. It's almost football season, folks. Get your Voice of College Football merch now. We've got brand new things like keychains, coasters, and everything else for you, for your family. We've actually been seeing on the show recently, some people have been showing their T-shirts and their Voice of College Football merch, which we really appreciate. Especially since football season's coming up, get your orders in now for Voice of College Football and Michigan football at the Voice of College Football merch. And I'll go ahead and put the link in right now to the Michigan merch so that everybody can go in and get your merch right now. All right. So the main topic today, the fall camp battles. We are finally almost at football time. Like, it has been a slog and we have done our best here, but Lord, I am so happy that it's almost football time. So Jim Harbaugh, when he first came to Michigan, do you guys remember this? He mentioned the quarterback battle that, if you remember, Shane Morris and there were a few others who were in a quarterback battle, and he set the stage for what the philosophy has mostly been at Michigan since he arrived in 2015. All will be played out on the football field. It will be a meritocracy at its best. So now we're going to look at each battle and remember, meritocracy. It's not just those who stay. It's also who is the best person, the best player for each position group. And we'll start with offensive tackle. So in offensive tackle, we've got a few kind of key pieces here that we want to look at. We'll start with the left and right tackle positions. So there are four players who are kind of at play that I'm aware of. Ladarius Henderson, who we've covered on this program from Arizona State. Miles Hinton, who we've covered a little less from Stanford. Will Battle, Carson Barnhart, and Trente Jones for both offensive tackle positions. Now, what we've seen is that in the past, Carson Barnhart has actually beaten Trente Jones. And I've heard a lot more upside about Ladarius Henderson than Miles Hinton. So my predictions, and again, these are completely up for debate, and I'd love to hear your take on it. Ladarius Henderson on the left, Carson Barnhart on the right. Anybody who objects to that, let me know. But I think that they're going to the experience of both of those players will help shore up the line and continue maybe even the Joe Moore Award for a third year in a row. Henderson is both. Yep. And he's competing for the tackle, the two tackle positions. All right. Join our Patreon Discord. Talk Wolverines all the time. Sign up at patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, or you can become a YouTube member and get access to our chat that way. We're going to have exclusive content coming at you, exclusive things for Patreon and for YouTube memberships. The center battle. So center in Jim Harbaugh's offenses has been one of the most pivotal positions on the field, and we saw this just last year with Olu Oluwatimi and what he was able to do. And again, we have a battle between a starter, like somebody who had 24 starts at Stanford, Drake Nugent, and Greg Crippen. And Greg Crippen does have some positive buzz to him. So I wouldn't, I don't think it's a completely done deal. Drake. So Drake Nugent was actually injured, so he entered camp behind. He spent his entire spring rehabbing an injury. So Crippen was the number one in the spring and had a chance to gel with the O-line and McCarthy. And remember, spring ball is a big deal. JJ didn't have spring ball and instead had to compete all the way into the fall and the second game of the season with Cade McNamara. So we know that spring ball can be a big component in who starts. However, With all that said, I do still believe that Drake Nugent is going to be the center for Michigan, and I even said this on a previous episode that I think that Nugent is going to be a player. And yeah, we're getting some confirmation from some of our Wolverines in chat that they're pretty sure it's going to be Nugent. Yep. And you're also right about, and I haven't mentioned, of course, Keegan and Zinner because their positions are cemented. They are absolutely going to be starters and starting guards. Buckeye Mike, thank you for being here. It is very, very difficult to be as strong as our line was last year. But with the returning production that we have at all aspects, I'm not really questioning our O-line as much as I am the cornerback position. Account 22 actually believes that we're getting an upgrade with Ladarius Henderson over Ryan Hayes. That's a big statement. Ryan Hayes was a great player. So if that's the case, then we are in for a really exciting experience there. What I am going to do, by the way, and we do have some time here. I will be maybe taking one call, maybe two. We do have to end at 6, so we can send everybody over to the next show, the FSU show at 6. But if like one or two people want to call in, we will take calls at the very end. When you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as many do from time to time, why not use Mark's link? It takes 2 seconds. It's free. And when you're getting your dog food, you're getting your popcorn maker, you're getting your pull floaty, whatever the case may be, why don't you just use Mark's link and help support the channel? The guests that he brings on and that our other hosts bring on and that I'm bringing on next week, we will have Dennis Fithian from Mason Blue Review coming back. That has been confirmed. It is happening. And then I also hope very soon to get a member of the East Carolina media to talk about the East Carolina Pirates game that we'll be having as game 1. So all of this is made possible by you guys liking, subscribing, hitting Amazon, and then even Buckeye. We even have a Buckeye in here saying, don't forget to hit the like. So definitely do that. All right. Wide receiver. So it does seem that that Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson are starter locks. So really, it's about the third position on the team and who is going to be that third position, right? If I had to guess, and I could be very, very wrong, but if I had to guess, I think that the X and Z positions are going to be Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson, and the slot is going to be one of these people. Now, it could be that Roman Wilson takes the slot and someone else takes the Z or whatever. Like, it could be switched around. That's up to Ron Bellamy and Jim Harbaugh and Sharon Moore. But here are some candidates for that third position. Tyler Morris, Darius Clemens, Carmelo English, Peyton O'Leary, Morgan, Frederick Moore, Dixon. And here is my prediction right now for who is going to be the third starter. Darius Clemens. He is a force of nature. 6'3", 214 pounds. The guy is an impact player. But don't sleep. And people have heard me say this before. Don't sleep on incoming freshman Carmelo English. He is really, really good. You've seen his film. He is a player who I think is underrated. And I think he's going to compete hard. We talk about a meritocracy. Jim Harbaugh has talked about this since, like I said, but all the way back in 2015. Don't sleep on Carmelo English. Wilson will break out this year. Yeah, I mean, I think he has the talent. He has the talent, but I think he's been lacking the consistency, but he has the talent, and we've seen it at points. Cornelius Johnson, it has looked better, I think, because the defenses haven't schemed well for the pass. That's why I think Cornelius Johnson has looked better, and they've put him in positions to catch the ball. Roman Wilson is going to have plenty of opportunities this year to do that. And yes, this is one of the few areas, wide receiver and cornerback number 2, that I'm not sure about. I agree with you, Vaughn. I agree with some others. And I'm with you. I mean, DPJ is now a starter at the Cleveland Browns in the NFL, and we had him. And he just didn't perform as much. So, again, I think this is what I'm answering now. I do think if we have weaknesses, and Michigan doesn't have many. If you compare Michigan to almost every other program in the Big Ten, Michigan doesn't have many weaknesses. Wide receiver is one of them. Now, Michigan's going to paper over that with tight end play because Colston Loveland's going to be used as a hybrid tight end wide receiver, and he's going to catch a lot of balls. AJ Barner is going to catch balls and block probably. And then you actually have some other people in the scheme. So Max Bredesen, who is the little brother of Ben Bredesen, remember him? All-American, 4-time letter winner, things like that. His little brother, Max Bredesen, is going to be used as a blocking tight end primarily. So look for him in a lot of 6 personnel O-line combinations and things like that. Yes, I know. Ron Bellamy is the wide receivers coach. Yep. I fully expect Loveland to be if he has the season we think he has, and JJ tends to go to him. He trusts him, and that's really important. And he'll have all of spring, fall, and of course practices during the games to even crystallize that further. I think Colston Loveland is going to have himself a season. But just finishing off on this, yeah, I think Bellamy is going to feature some of these players, some of these other players, because I don't know if it's going to be fully decided by the end of fall camp, especially when you have 3 games before you get to conference play called the East Carolina Pirates, UNLV, and Bowling Green to test people out. You think they're going to be playing the starters for very long in those games, especially 2 and 3? No. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to try these guys out in live gameplay. Yeah, Loveland, and I mean, again, Buckeye Mike, he's a great guy. So we are actually going to be doing, for those of you who don't know, a show called 30-Minute War with Buckeye Mike, and he and I are going to come at our games from each angle, and so I think it could be really a great show, and we'll maybe one of you guys could come on and shore up the Michigan side, and I'm sure that Buckeye Mike knows a few Buckeyes to be on for some of the big games, especially the game for the Buckeye side. So maybe we'll have 2-on-2 or 3-on-3. I'm proud to announce, very excited to announce that Dre is coming back and going to be the primary host of Michigan Postgame Live this season. Big news. We had the meeting a couple days ago with Mark, and it's happening, and I'm very excited about that. I've wanted to have him back in whatever capacity he felt comfortable coming back, and he is going to be the host of our post-game live this season. I will be on when I can. My Saturdays tend to vary as far as how available I am, so I may be available, I may not, so I will try to make what I can. 2 things to remember for this season is that we're going to actually take calls this season for the Michigan Post game. So I don't think in the past we took calls for that show. We're going to take calls every week, and we're going to do some film study. So while we can't show film because we'll get shut down and demonetized, and nobody wants that, what we can do is maybe show a screenshot, some of the key plays, and talk about them. So we can dive into a little bit of X's and O's stuff in addition to our general thoughts on the game. So very, very excited about that. And yes, Dependent Fanatic is here. Friend of the program, Dependent Fanatic. True Michigan man. They'd better let it fly in those games. I like all of the predictions. Well, we'll see if you keep liking them. Maybe, maybe not. Actually, this next one's a pretty obvious one too. The running back number 3 battle. Now, we all know that Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are going to be the running back 1 and 2, and you might even call them 1A, 1B. They're both going to be utilized heavily. Donovan Edwards is going to be the primary back along with some of these others during the first 4 or 5 games. Blake Corum is going to have an appearance. He's going to have maybe a drive or 2. I don't think he's going to be in the second half featured much against UNLV. I think Donovan Edwards and some of these others will be able to carry the load. And candidates for the third position, Ben Hall, who we saw in the spring game have a fantastic game. CJ Stokes, who we've seen have less than fantastic games last season. Cole Cabana, who seems to be a very upstart potential talent at running back. And the guy who might be able to get us a yard or 2 in short yardage situations and also can toss the football for giggles once in a while. Those are your candidates. And my prediction is, and those of you who are watching my football series, John Plays the Season, have seen Ben Hall featured pretty heavily in the second half of some of these games. And I think his speed is going to set him apart from everybody else. And, you know, if there's one coach I trust more than any to evaluate the talent and pick the best person, it's Mike Hart. He knows what he's doing. He knows who he wants. And I think Ben Hall has started to separate himself as of the spring game. Khalil Mullings will be used. He's going to be used as that run up for 1 yard, jumbo set, boom, get your half a yard, get your yard. Khalil Mullings. Cabana will probably take the position under Ben Hall. And then if you need a warm body and everyone else, for some reason, you just need a running back. Maybe we're in the fourth quarter of UNLV and it's like 62-3. Maybe you put CJ Stokes in there. I'm being a little mean to him, but he ain't it. He would have to convince me in these first couple of games that he can turn on the Jets because I saw him live. He ain't it. I'm sorry. So he's the guy you go to if everybody else can't play or you want to rest everybody. I think Mullings is a fullback. Half a yard, 1 yard, maybe 2 yards. Maybe a jump pass here and there. I thought it was I think we all enjoyed that one when you had a defensive player, mostly a linebacker, throw a pass. That was just fun, wasn't it? We all enjoyed that. Power I agree. In fact, I did do some I formation in the in my series. Not enough though. I do love I formation. I think he would be great in that. And we do run a little bit of that. We are more shotgun these days, but we run pistol, we run some I formation, we run some others here and there. Let's see. So Jason says, okay, so we are in agreement except for Cabana and Mullings, it sounds like. Well, actually, we're in agreement there too, because I basically said Mullings is a run up the gut guy, for a yard, and Cabana will be under Hall. So we agree. So there you go. Cool. Yeah, Mullings is a big guy. He's a big guy. He's gonna barrel it in. The man himself, Jackson Johnson, host of the Jacksonian, is here with us. Alrighty. Reminder that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, another episode of John Plays NCAA 14. John Plays the Season. Michigan versus Purdue. And for everybody who enjoys my weather predictions, this will be a snow game. So yes, I enjoy snow games, even if it's inaccurate with the average temperature. So deal with it. All right. QB2 battle. Who's the backup? So let's see here. Get any interesting things? Okay. So we've got a quarterback battle as the backup. Finally, we don't have. Isn't it great that we no longer have the JJ versus Cade drama? Isn't that great? We know who our starter's going to be, and he's really, really good. And we know he's really, really good. Can we all just have a sigh of relief that we know that? Now let's look at Davis Warren and Jack Tuttle. So Davis Warren obviously has been in the system for a few years, so he has the advantage in terms of experience. However, Jack Tuttle has been at Indiana, and he has the experience at Indiana. However, I'm based on my conversations with Isaiah Hole. When Isaiah Hole has been on, he has not been high. If you go back to that episode, he was not high on Jack Tuttle at all. And so I do think Jack Tuttle did some good things in the spring game. He also did make some mistakes as well. And it does look like, whoa, wait a minute. It seems like we have somebody who I have not mentioned in our thing, which is Alex Orji. Now, why not Orji? I hope that Alex Orji is I would love that. If he took that extra step as a dynamic player, that would be great. But I don't think Orji, Warren, or Tuttle will ever be starter, because I think that either JJ stays next season, or if we do extremely well, win the national title, or do very well in the playoffs, and JJ goes first round, I think you're looking at either starting Jaden Davis, or you're looking at bringing in a transfer, like a really good transfer. Like, I don't think Tuttle is who I would pick as a really good transfer. So I think there will be an opportunity to get a solid, bridge quarterback for a year. But if I had to pick one, Alex Orji would be that other option. But I just don't see Alex Orji as the starter in 2024. But I could be wrong. Maybe he will take a big leap and prove me wrong, and then we'll go from there. So my prediction, Davis Warren by a hair, but it's close. And Jack Tuttle could take over by game 4, or heck, if we listen to y'all in the chat, maybe it's Alex Orji. But I'm going to say Davis Warren is the game 1 backup because of his experience. Reminder that we have the Big Ten live show every Monday from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern. It is a full call-in show the whole time. From 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, we normally have Mark Rogers, voice of college football. And from 8 to 10 Eastern, we normally have the Ocho with me. We are starting to switch that up a little for a couple of reasons. One, we want to get some representation from people who aren't a Michigan or Ohio State fan. We'd like to get, so I think Corey added a lot to the show this past Monday, and brought some Iowa representation. I'd like to see some hosts also, maybe a Penn State host, or an Indiana host, or another program. Let's increase the amount of schools where we have a host, and also people calling in. But the other reason is I have business travel coming up. In fact, the reason I was a couple minutes late is I was wrapping up a client meeting, and so in a couple weeks, I won't be on either show, the Big Ten or this show. So, these things are happening, and life is happening, and we have a lot of shows to do. And so, just keep that in mind. Let's go to the CB2. This is a big one. I would agree. I think Jeffrey does a fantastic job. And yes, so Jackson, I am so glad you brought that up. So we actually had a Maryland caller on our last call-in show, and not only that, but I am going to, my next DM is going to be to a guy that Michael Wheatley had referred to me in the Maryland media. So we're going to start having media guests if we don't get callers. So because I want every school represented on that show. So we're going to have in, not this coming week, but the next week, Christian Dyer from Rutgers Wire is going to be calling in to the Big Ten show, probably during Mark's block. And then Maryland will be another one. And I'm going to try to get every single school represented. Because as much as we think it's all about Michigan, Ohio State, we've got a lot of Big Ten schools, and we want to make sure everybody is being represented. All right, let's go to CB2 candidates. And I might be missing one, but a couple that I have here are Josh Wallace, the transfer from UMass, Marion Walker, and Jaden McBurrows. And based on what I'm seeing, and obviously we lost DJ Turner and Jamon Green to the NFL. So, there is the possibility, remember, of bringing Sanristil over. There is that possibility, but I think he'll be the nickel back again. So Wallace is a 4-year starter. He's had 140 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 28 pass breakups. He had a coverage grade of 71.2, according to Pro Football Focus in 2022. Now, big caveat is it was at UMass, so the competition isn't going to be as intense. I understand that. McBurrows, though, I think he's going to take game 1. What I saw in the spring game, his past experience with the team, I really do think that that McBurrows will have game 1. Sports Illustrated and I disagree because they think that Josh Wallace will be game 1. I do think he's going to get a lot of play, especially in those early games. So again, these first 3 games are going to be used as auditions too. So McBurrows may be the starting cornerback 2 for game 1, but then Josh Wallace lights it up. Maybe gets some key interceptions, some key blocks, and then takes over the job in game 4 against Rutgers. It's possible. I do think he's going to get a lot of play. He is a longtime starter. And yes, Marion Walker is a possibility too. I just haven't seen it yet. And maybe he'll light it up in fall camp and he'll compete with these guys. But I think these are your 2 options, and let's see what people think about that. Yeah, he's perfect in the slot. McBurrows can hit. Sanristil is too small. Yeah, I mean, he's an option if we need it, is kind of my point. I don't think he's competing with either of these 2 for the starter job, but let's say in a pinch we need him. He can do the role. But yeah, we want to keep him as a nickel back. So yeah. And yeah, I mean, that is also true. He covered a 6'6" tight end in the Ohio State game. And by the way, made the play, in my opinion, the play of the game to block their tight end. That deflection of that pass, it was positioned perfectly. And prevented Stover from getting that touchdown, which, again, those are the types of things that completely change the momentum of games. Yep, one of the greatest plays in U of M history. I agree with you. All right. Last but certainly not least is our edge battle. And if there are any you want to also cover, let me know. There is one at kicker. I didn't really mention it because it could go either way. I'm not ready to make a prediction on that. So we know that the loss of Mike Morris is very, very tough. We know this. So we think that Jalen Harrell is the incumbent and presumed starter, but there are 3 others that are vying for time. Braden McGregor, sophomore Derek Moore, and also the transferred Josiah Stewart from Coastal Carolina. This is the only one where I say I have no idea. But I think Harrell and McGregor may be the ones, and it's really going to come down, again, like some of my other predictions. It may be Harrell in the beginning, and then McGregor overtakes the job. Remember, meritocracy. It's who's the best at that time for the position, as Jim Harbaugh said. And of course, next to him is a trophy, one of his two recent Big Ten championship wins over the Ohio State and others, by running this philosophy. Yeah. So Stewart, Stewart might be, yeah. And all of these, I mean, Jay Marion, you could say pending the package for every single one of these, because they're going to rotate people. They're going to rest people. They're going to use different personnel in different plays and different formations. So you can say pending the package for almost every single one of these competitions. You could say pending the package even for starter in the running back, because there may be a combination where Ben Hall is on one side, Donovan Edwards is on the other side as a receiver. There could be a combination where Ben Hall is used as a starter. Like, so you could say pending the package for because of the amount of talent that's on our team, that's on Michigan's team. You can say that for a lot. But I do agree with you that Harrell and McGregor are the two finalists. Harrell in the beginning, and then maybe McGregor overtakes it. Buckeye Mike, yeah. Cade Stover catches that if it's a second or two early. Cade Stover is a very, very good player. That's what made it so good. He catches that almost every single time. Sainristil had to be perfectly positioned in just the right place at just the right moment, or Cade Stover would have caught that ball. It was a very catchable ball. And and obviously we know CJ Stroud is a good quarterback, and we know that Cade Stover is a good tight end, and they would have connected if it wasn't for Sainristil, which I think that changed the momentum of the game. Because I think they start feeling, wow, can we do anything here? Like, what is going on? And I think that it's a demoralization started to creep in for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Good luck, a dependent fanatic. Good luck on your cards, whatever you're playing. I hope you win. Go Blue, and thanks for joining us. So I will put the link in one more time. I think we have time for like one call. So if one person wants to call in, we can take a call. But what I will say is that I'm very happy to announce, and I have confirmed this, that next week, on next week's show, Dennis Fithian will be back from the Maize and Blue Review. I thought he did a fantastic job on the show last time. So he'll be back as our guest. And I would say I'm probably going to ask him about that J.J. McCarthy being a top draft pick prediction. That might come up. Just saying. All righty. Next up on the show. In our Voice of College Football must-see TV block. Boy, do we have a lot of stuff coming up. In about 18 minutes, go over to Florida State Live, and Mark and the guys over at Florida State show will have a great show. Obviously, they've recently got a 5-star recruit. I heard about that. So I'm sure we'll hear what their takes are on some things. Miami Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will have a call-in show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on realignment. We've been doing that a lot recently, as you may have noticed. And, because there's been some stuff going on. I don't know if you've noticed that. Colorado saying sayonara to the Pac-12, and so I think there's more to discuss and more to get insight and analysis from. Yes, we have. I am in the business center, and I do have my AirPods synced to noise cancellation. But if it's really loud, you still might hear it. Okay. You want to hear about my thoughts on the Big House Barbecue? I'll give you my thoughts on the Big House Barbecue. I think the whole thing is absurd and overblown. There was brisket there. There was pulled pork there. It's not my fault that the guy plated it so poorly. Okay. Also, that mac and cheese looked good. That looked like some really good down south mac and cheese that I have had in my travels down south many, many times. The hot dog, the sear was at the bottom. You couldn't see it. Okay. It was at the bottom of it. So like, yeah, it looked very basic. I get it. The chicken tenders look delicious. You know, I can think of a couple of times in Ann Arbor at 3 a.m. I might want one of those chicken tenders. They might be looking really good during some of my nights in college at Michigan. So I think overall, the PR team did a poor job of not, getting some really delicious looking pictures out there. And then that picture became the thing. It's like, if you guys remember Fire Festival and the picture of the cheese sandwich, it just took off, and that was what everybody talked about. But did you know that they actually had like other catered food, and it was just that the cheese sandwich was what everybody zeroed in on? This is a not as serious version of the Fire Festival cheese sandwich, where there were plenty of other options. It's just that that's the image that, swept the internet. It happens. It happens. Jason, it's part of social media. It happens. And I just gave you the Fire Festival example. One picture that looks ridiculous gets retweeted and liked. And, there is some Michigan hate. There is. People, not everybody loves Michigan. This may come as a shock to some of you, but, not everybody loves the University of Michigan. Might be a reason why Harbaugh's getting a 4-game suspension. Just saying. Not everybody loves Michigan. But you know what? We do here at Michigan Wolverines Live. We love the school. I went there, but you don't have to go there to be a fan. We had a debate about that. You don't have to go to the school to be a fan. But I loved my years in Ann Arbor. I really did. Well, you don't have to take just my word, Vaughn, because we had Jim Scarcelli on Dennis's show on Dennis Fiffy, and I'm assuming Maize and Blue. I didn't watch that one, unfortunately, but I try to watch everything, but my life is crazy sometimes. He said the barbecue was top class. Exactly. Pulled pork, brisket, the best stuff. It's just that image went viral because sometimes you pick. You don't. Maybe he needs a class in social media, like how to plate food for Instagram. Maybe he'll get as part of the media training, because all the players have media training. Maybe one of the courses will be how to plate your food for social media so that you can make Michigan look the best. Yeah. Troy. Okay. Well, the Buckeyes got to get their shots in. And by the way, those chicken strips look great. And the hot dog had a great sear on it. It was just underneath the bun. You could barely see it. It was a bad plating. That's what it was. I would have downed those chicken strips, though, and the mac and cheese. Thank you, Buckeye Mike. And, we have some Buckeyes that come in here and they just troll, and we give them the business. And then there are some Buckeyes who come in and they encourage people to hit the like button, and they're really cool. And, that's a good representation of the fan base, and we appreciate that. And I try to do the same thing when I go on to Buckeye shows, because I do go on to the Buckeye shows. Some of you have seen me over there. Those of you who are Buckeyes have seen me over there. And I try to be respectful, and I try to give nuanced takes. And the only time I'm not is the day after the game. And especially when everybody's saying that Ohio State was going to clobber Michigan, I had to respond to that. And I had to go on some Buckeye shows and do some trolling, which I almost never do, but that day called for it. Exactly. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Yes, Michigan and Ohio State on the schedule will help Iowa, and that's why I predict 11-1 for Iowa. And everybody says, unless I'm with an Iowa crowd, people give me crap for it. Their schedule is so easy. What are their tough games? Wisconsin, Penn State, maybe Nebraska. They don't have a lot of tough games. Penn State, I'm predicting that Iowa beats them at Beaver because the Beaver magic isn't the same as the Kinnick magic. Okay? So, yeah. So it's not the same. The ratio, the record of win-loss is it seems pretty negligible. So I think Iowa with Cade and Eric All, with Cade's ability to win games. If you remember that 2021 Penn State game, the throw to Eric All, that's what won the game. He had to make that throw, or Michigan would have lost the game. He knows how to beat Penn State. He knows how to do it. And it really is going to come down to how much he's allowed to run things versus how much Brian Ferentz tries to put his fingers in the pie. If Cade can run the offense and Brian Ferentz can go get a hot dog and go and, eat some Cheetos, then Iowa's in fantastic shape because he knows the concepts that will win, and you'll just run them in the Iowa formations. You can run the Iowa, they run a lot of I formation. They run a lot of ace, like pro style. They don't run as much shotgun as Michigan. Michigan basically has an 80s, Stanford 2009-esque look, but in the shotgun. Iowa actually uses the 80s formation, the I formation, the under center, pro style. Close L. I mean, that's one of my more controversial calls, Iowa beating Penn State, because I think, listen, if you're right and it is a loss and Iowa beats Iowa beats Wisconsin and loses to Penn State, guess what? I still win because I called 11-1. Just that one little bit will be wrong, and I'll admit that on air. I have no problem doing that. Okay. So one more reminder to please hit the like button. We have about, like I said, 1,000 subscribers below Ohio State. We got to change that. If you haven't asked yourself, what are you doing to beat Ohio State today? What are you doing to beat Ohio State today? Hit the subscribe, get other people to subscribe, and let's get our numbers up that way so then we can share this with even more people. If you like the content, then even better. If you're not a fan of the content, you can direct your complaints to MarkRogersTV@gmail.com, or you can DM me if you want to. Or you can comment, because everybody just comments anyway. Again, I want to thank everybody who did come in here today, for being here, for being part of the show today. I want to thank David Martinez, who has contributed our new intro, the music for our intro. Just for fun, I'm going to show it one more time because I'm proud of this. Yeah, rock and roll. So thanks, David Martinez, for that. And everything. Don't forget to go to hit the Amazon link, Mark's Amazon link. Don't forget to go to the merch store, get yourself some merch. It's almost football season, and all of those other wonderful things. Next up is going to be Florida State Live. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Florida State link right here in the chat. So there's no excuse. You just go right on over there, hit the like button for them. Even if you can't make the show, just hit the like button. If nothing else, I understand people have lives. They can't make the show. Just hit the like button. I get it, Troy. I get it. And thank you for liking. That's all I can ask from a Buckeye. Asking for subscription is maybe too much to ask. But thank you for the like. So join Florida State in about 7 minutes, then Miami. Then we have a call-in show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then the Pac-12 chat show live with Tony, Tim, Chris, TBM, and a guest. We usually have on that show, there's a Pac-12 guest caller. So Connor Johnson has been a guest caller. Larry Pilgrim has been a guest caller. And I think that format works really, really well. I think it's a good format. So that's the rest of your block. 4 more shows for your viewing pleasure on the Voice of College Football. And until next time, my name is John D'Adamo. I thank you all for coming, and go Blue! See you next week.